The research vessel Gentle Current drifted through space like a dying flower. Its beautiful crystal hull, once clear as mountain water, now showed ugly cracks that leaked precious air into the black emptiness around it. Inside the ship, Captain. Zephyr of the Morning Mist pressed his long, delicate fingers against the main console. Watching the life support numbers drop with each passing minute, Zephyr looked like no creature that had ever walked on Earth. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, with a body that seemed part deer and part insect. His skin was pale green and smooth, and his large eyes reflected the soft light of his ship's living walls. 2 small antennae twitched nervously on his forehead as he watched the sensor displays. Captain called, whisper of Winthrop lives. From her station near the garden wall, her voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The raiders are moving closer. Their weapons are charging again. Through the main viewing wall, which was actually a living membrane that could see, through space, 5 dark ships circled the Gentle Current like hungry wolves. These were Vorthok raiders, and everyone in this part of the galaxy knew what that meant. The Vorthok took prisoners to sell as slaves. They destroyed what they could not take. They showed no mercy to anyone. How long until our engines work again? Zephyr asked his engineer, a small, rabbit-like being named Soft Train on Flowers. The organic systems are too damaged, Captain, Soft Train replied, her ears drooping with sadness. The raiders' first attack hurt our ship heart too badly. We cannot run, and we cannot fight. Zephyr closed his eyes and touched the communication panel with his palm. The living ship responded to his touch, opening channels across many star systems. If they were going to die here, at least other peaceful ships would know to avoid this place. This is Captain Zephyr of the Morning Mist of the research vessel Gentle Current, he said into the communicator. We are children of peaceful gardens, and we face the shadow hunters who devour light. Our ship is damaged in the Kepler 442 system. We cannot escape. If anyone can hear this message and has the power to help, we offer all our knowledge in exchange for rescue. Please, we do not want to die in the darkness. The message went out across space, carried by quantum waves that could travel faster than light. It would reach dozens of star systems, hundreds of peaceful ships and stations. But Zephyr knew that none of his people had weapons strong enough to fight the Vorthok raiders. His message was really just a way to say goodbye. 3 light years away. The human exploration ship New Horizon was mapping a small solar system when the alien message came through their communication array. The ship looked nothing like the graceful Gentle Current. It was built from metal and ceramic, with hard angles and thick armor. Where the alien ship grew its technology like plants, the human ship had been hammered and welded into shape by creatures who understood that the universe was dangerous. Captain Jake Sullivan was drinking coffee in his quarters when Lieutenant Ben Carter called him to the bridge. Sullivan was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had been exploring space for 20 years, and those years had taught him that trouble could come from anywhere at any time. What do we have, Carter? Sullivan asked as he stepped onto the bridge. Strange message, Captain, Carter replied. He was younger than Sullivan, with the quick movements of someone always ready for a fight. It's not in any human language, but the computer is working on it. Dr. Lisa Park looked up from her science station. She was a small woman with dark hair and the kind of eyes that missed nothing. I've got most of it translated, Captain. It's a distress call from something called the Gentle Current. They're under attack by raiders in the Kepler 442 system. How far is that? Sullivan asked. About 3 light years. We could be there in 4 hours if we push the hyperdrive. Sullivan walked to the main screen and read the translated message. The words were strange, talking about gardens and shadows, but the meaning was clear. Someone was in trouble, and they needed help. Captain, said Maria Rodriguez from the communications station. She was a steady woman who never got excited, which made her perfect for talking to people across the galaxy. I'm picking up more signals from that area. The attackers are still there, and they're not trying to hide. How many ships? Sullivan asked. Carter checked his sensors. 5 ships, all bigger than us. They're using Vorthok weapon signatures. Everyone on the bridge got quiet. The Vorthok had a reputation that reached even to Earth. They were raiders and slavers who had been terrorizing this part of space for centuries. Most civilized species tried to avoid them completely. Captain Dr. Park said carefully, "We don't know anything about the ship that sent the distress call. For all we know, they could be criminals themselves." Sullivan nodded. She was right to be careful. The aliens had called themselves children of peaceful gardens. That didn't sound like something criminals would say. "What do you think, Carter?" Sullivan asked his tactical officer. Carter studied his screens for a moment. 5 against 1 isn't great odds, Captain. But we've got some advantages they don't know about. And if we're going to help anyone, we need to do it now. That alien ship won't last much longer. Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell spoke up from his station near the back of the bridge. He was a big man with hands that could fix anything and a mind that understood machines better than most people understood other people. "The new weapon systems are working fine, Captain. The armor upgrades we got last month should help if things get messy." Sullivan looked around his bridge. His crew was small but experienced. They had been through dangerous situations before. More importantly, they were humans. And humans had one advantage that most species in the galaxy didn't understand. Humans came from Earth, a world so dangerous that most alien civilizations classified it as completely uninhabitable. On Earth, everything tried to kill everything else. The weather could kill you, the animals could kill you, even some of the plants could kill you. Humans had survived by learning to fight, to adapt, and most importantly, to protect each other. "Set course for Kepler 442, Sullivan said. "Maximum speed." Captain Dr. Park said, "We're going up against 5 enemy ships. You sure about?" This Sullivan smiled, and for a moment he looked less tired. "Doctor, my grandmother used to tell me that the only thing evil needs to win is for good people to do nothing. Those aliens asked for help. We're going to give it to them." The New Horizon turned away from its mapping mission and jumped into hyperspace, racing toward a battle that would change everything both species thought they knew about the universe. Back on the Gentle Current, Captain Zephyr watched helplessly as the Vorthok ships moved closer. His crew had accepted their fate with the quiet dignity of people who had never known real violence. They stood at their stations, ready to do their duty, even though they knew it would not save them. Captain Whisper Vinthril Vives called, "Softly, I'm detecting a hyperspace signature approaching fast." Zephyr's antennae perked up with hope. "Is it one of our ships?" "No, Captain. The engine signature is completely unknown. Captain, ... it's big." Through the living view screen, a new ship appeared in a flash of light. It was unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Where their ship was graceful and organic, this new vessel looked like it had been built for war. It was covered in armor plating, and strange weapon pods stuck out from its hull like thorns on a dangerous plant. "Unknown vessel," came a voice. Over the communication system, the words were translated automatically, but the tone was clear. It was calm, determined, and completely unafraid. "This is Captain Sullivan of the human vessel New Horizon. We received your distress call. We're here to help." Captain Zephyr stared at the newcomer ship. He had never heard of humans before, but as he watched the vessel position itself between the Gentle Current and the Vorthok raiders, he whispered a prayer to his ancestors. Help had arrived from somewhere in the galaxy. He just hoped these mysterious humans knew what they were doing. The silence that followed Captain Sullivan's announcement lasted exactly 3 seconds. Then the Vorthok commander's voice crackled over the communication channels, speaking in the harsh, growling language that had terrorized peaceful species. For generations, unknown ship, the Vorthok leader snarled. You will leave this place immediately. Claim this vessel and its crew as our prize. Interfere, and we will destroy you. Dr. Lisa Park worked quickly at her translation station, converting the alien words into English for the crew. She had studied dozens of alien languages, but Vorthok was different. It was a language built for giving orders and making threats. Captain Sullivan stood in the center of his bridge, completely calm. Around him, his crew prepared for battle with the smooth efficiency that came from years of training and trust. Lieutenant Ben Carter's fingers danced over his tactical controls, analyzing the enemy ships and their weapons. Maria Rodriguez opened communication channels to both the aliens and the raiders. Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell pushed the ship's power systems to their limits. Maria, open a channel to all ships in the area, Sullivan said quietly. Channel open. Captain Sullivan's voice went out across space, reaching both the desperate aliens and the confident raiders. This is Captain Jake Sullivan of the human vessel New Horizon. The ship you are attacking is now under our protection. You have 30 seconds to withdraw from this system, or we will consider you hostile and respond accordingly. Command ship Commander Crush. That destroyer laughed with genuine amusement. Crush was a massive creature, 8 feet tall, and covered in thick scales that could stop most energy weapons. His forearms ended in claws that had torn apart countless enemies. He had been raiding peaceful ships for over 50 years, and no one had ever challenged him with odds this bad. Humane's Crush growled to his crew. I've never heard of this species. One small ship thinks it can face 5 Vorthok raiders. Show them what happens to fools who interfere with our hunts. The 5 Vorthok ships spread out in an attack formation that had worked hundreds of times before. They were larger than the New Horizon, with heavier weapons and thicker armor. By all logical thinking, the battle should have been over before it started. Captain Zephyr watched from the bridge of the gentle current. As the human ship moved between his vessel and the raiders, the New Horizon was smaller than any of the Vorthok ships, but something about the way it moved made Zephyr's antennae twitch with nervousness. The human ship didn't fly like the graceful vessels his people built. It moved like a predator getting ready to strike. Captain Whisper Vuentruth said softly, "What kind of beings are these humans? Their ship looks like it was built for war." Zephyr had no answer. On his years of exploring space, he had never seen a vessel that looked so dangerous. But the humans had come to help, so surely they must be peaceful like his own people. Perhaps their ship only looked frightening. The first Vorthok ship fired without warning, sending a blast of plasma energy straight at the New Horizon. The aliens watching expected to see the human ship destroyed in a flash of light. Instead, something impossible happened. The New Horizon simply wasn't there anymore. Lieutenant Carter had seen the energy build up on his sensors 3 seconds before the Vorthok fired. He triggered the ship's evasion system, spinning the New Horizon through a series of movements that would have made most aliens sick just watching. The plasma blast passed harmlessly through empty space. Carter, return fire, Captain Sullivan ordered. Aye, Captain. Firing main batteries. The New Horizon's weapons were different from anything the aliens or raiders had seen before. Instead of the bright energy beams that most species used, the human ship fired solid metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic fields. The projectiles hit the first Vorthok ship like meteors, punching through its armor and exploding. Inside its hull, the Vorthok ship staggered, bleeding atmosphere and debris into space. Its crew had never faced weapons that could ignore their energy shields completely. Impossible, Commander Kresh snarled. All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel. Destroy them now. The remaining 4 Vorthok ships opened fire together, filling space with deadly energy beams. But the New Horizon was already moving again, sliding sideways through space in a way that seemed to ignore physics. Dr. Park held onto her station as the ship spun and rolled, avoiding death by inches with each maneuver. How are we moving like this? She shouted over the noise of the engines. Chief Engineer Mitchell grinned as he worked his controls. Humans learn to fly by falling out of trees, Doc. We've had millions of years to practice not hitting the ground. The second Vorthok ship tried to ram the New Horizon, thinking that the smaller vessel couldn't possibly avoid a direct collision. Lieutenant Carter saw it coming and did something that made Captain Zephyr's eyes go wide with terror and amazement. Carter fired the ship's engines in reverse while spinning the New Horizon completely around. The human vessel slipped past the Vorthok ship like a dancer avoiding a charging bull, then fired its weapons directly into the enemy's engine compartment as it passed. The Vorthok ship exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the darkness of space. 2 down, 3 to go, Carter reported calmly. On the gentle current. The alien crew watched in stunned silence as the human ship continued its deadly dance. Captain Zephyr had seen space battles before, but they were usually careful affairs with ships firing at each other from safe distances. What the humans were doing was more like watching a single hawk fight 5 eagles, using speed and intelligence to turn the enemy's own strength against them. Captain Whisper Vuenthro Lives whispered, "What kind of world do you think these humans come from?" Before Zephyr could answer, the New Horizon did something that made him question everything he thought he knew about space combat. The third Vorthok ship had positioned itself behind a piece of debris from the first explosion, thinking it was hidden from the human weapons. Captain Sullivan saw the enemy ship's hiding place and smiled coldly. Carter used the debris field. "Already on it, Captain." Instead of trying to shoot around the debris, Carter fired the New Horizon's weapons directly. At the floating wreckage, the magnetic accelerators turned the twisted metal into a cloud of high-speed projectiles that tore through the hiding. Vorthok ship like a storm of knives. Commander Kresh watched 2 more of his ships die and felt something he had not experienced in decades: fear. These humans fought like nothing he had ever encountered. They turned weakness into strength, used the environment as a weapon, seemed to think 3 steps ahead of every move his crews made. "All remaining ships, retreat to minimum engagement range," Kresh ordered. "We need distance to use our heavy weapons." But Captain Sullivan had no intention of letting the raiders escape to regroup. "Maria, patch me through to the alien vessel." "Carter, prepare for ramming speed," Captain Dr. Park said with alarm. "Ramming speed against 3 ships is suicide." Sullivan's smile was not pleasant. "Doctor, my ancestors survived by hunting animals 10 times their size with nothing but pointed sticks. We're not going to ram anyone. We're going to make them think we are." The New Horizon suddenly accelerated directly toward the 3 remaining Vorthok ships, its engines blazing like a falling star. The raiders, thinking the humans had gone insane with desperation, scattered in different directions to avoid the collision. This was exactly what Sullivan had wanted. "Now, Carter, hit them while they're separated." With the Vorthok ships no longer able to support each other, the New Horizon picked them off one by one. Carter's weapons found weak spots in armor, exploited gaps in shields, and turned each enemy ship into floating wreckage. The last ship, Commander Kresh's flagship, tried to escape into hyperspace. Carter put 3 projectiles through its jump drive before it could activate. "Unknown human vessel," Kresh's voice came over the communication system. No longer arrogant, but filled with a warrior's respect for a superior enemy. "You fight with great skill. I yield to your victory." Captain Sullivan considered this for a moment. In human wars, surrender was usually accepted. But he remembered the alien distress call and the terror in their voices. "Vorthok, Commander," Sullivan replied. "You will release any prisoners you have taken, transfer them to escape pods, and then leave this system immediately. You will not return. If we encounter you threatening peaceful vessels again, there will be no mercy. It will be as you say, human. We'll remember this day." The surviving Vorthok ship launched several escape pods containing alien prisoners from previous raids, then jumped into hyperspace, leaving the humans in the gentle current alone in the debris field. Captain Zephyr stared at the screen showing the New Horizon floating peacefully among the wreckage of 5 enemy ships. The battle had lasted less than 30 minutes. The humans had been outnumbered 5 to 1, but they had won without taking any serious damage to their ship. Captain Sullivan, Zephyr said into his communicator, his voice shaking with awe and gratitude. "We cannot thank you enough for your help. You have saved not just our lives, but the lives of many others who would have suffered at the hands of those raiders." Sullivan's voice came back, warm and friendly, completely different from the cold tone he had used with the Vorthok. The docking process took 2 hours. Captain Zephyr watched nervously as the human ship attached itself to the gentle current, like a metal parasite connecting to a living flower. The New Horizons docking tube extended and sealed against his ship's organic hull with a hiss of equalizing air pressure. Captain Whisper of Windthrough lives reported from her station. The humans are requesting permission to come aboard. They say they have medical supplies and repair equipment. Zephyr's antennae twitched with uncertainty. His people had never encountered aliens before, let alone ones who came from what they called a death world. But these beings had just saved their lives, risking their own ship to help complete strangers. "Tell them they are welcome," Zephyr decided. "Have them meet us in the main habitat dome." The main habitat dome was the heart of the gentle current, a beautiful space that recreated the forests of Serenitas Prime. Living trees grew from the deck, their branches reaching toward a ceiling that showed the stars outside. Streams of clean water flowed between moss-covered rocks, and the air smelled like flowers and growing things. Soft blue and green lights came from the plants themselves, creating a peaceful glow that had always made Zephyr feel safe. Today, he was not sure what he felt. The airlock door opened with a soft whisper, and the first human stepped through. Captain Sullivan was tall by alien standards, but moved with careful, controlled steps. Behind him came Dr. Lisa Park, carrying a bag of medical equipment, and Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell, with a toolkit that looked heavy enough to crush most alien beings. Zephyr had expected the humans to look frightening, like the Vorthok raiders. With their claws and scales, these beings looked almost ordinary. They had soft skin, no visible weapons, and their faces showed expressions of wonder as they looked around the habitat dome. "This is incredible," Dr. Park breathed, staring up at the living ceiling. "Captain Zephyr, your ship is beautiful. It's like a piece of your home world traveling through space." "Thank you," Zephyr replied, surprised by the genuine admiration in her voice. "We believe that beauty and life should travel with us wherever we go. But please, you said some of your people were injured helping us?" Captain Sullivan shook his head. "No injuries on our side, Captain. We wanted to check on your crew and see if we could help repair your ship." This confused Zephyr even more. "But you fought 5 enemy ships. Surely some of your warriors were hurt?" "We don't really have warriors, Captain Zephyr," Sullivan explained gently. "We're an exploration ship. Everyone you met is a scientist, engineer, or researcher. We just happen to be very good at protecting ourselves when we need to." Dr. Park was already moving toward the wounded aliens, her medical scanner humming softly. "Captain Zephyr, you have a serious injury to your chest. Please let me help you." As the human doctor began treating his wounds with strange but effective medicine, Zephyr found himself studying these mysterious beings more closely. They moved with a fluid grace that reminded him of predators, but their touches were gentle, and their voices were kind. "Dr. Park," he said as she worked, "Captain Sullivan said you come from a death world. What does that mean?" Dr. Park paused, in her work, choosing her words carefully. "Captain, have you ever been afraid that something might try to hurt you?" "Of course not," Zephyr replied, puzzled. "Why would anything want to hurt me? On our world, almost everything wants to hurt. Everything else, the plants, the animals, the weather, even tiny creatures too small to see. Earth is a planet where survival means being ready to fight or run at any moment." Whisper of a Wind Through Leaves, who had been listening from nearby, made a sound like wind through sad leaves. "That sounds terrible. How do you find any peace or happiness in such a place?" Captain Sullivan smiled, and for a moment his tired face looked younger. "You find peace by taking care of each other. When everything around you is dangerous, the most important thing becomes protecting your family, your friends, your community. We learned that working together was the only way to survive." Chief Engineer Mitchell had been examining the damage to the ship's living systems. "Captain Zephyr, your ship heart is hurt pretty badly, but I think I can help." My tools might look rough compared to your organic technology, but sometimes you need tough medicine for serious problems. You know how to heal living ships? Zephyr asked in amazement. Mitchell shrugged. I know how to fix things that are broken. Doesn't matter if they're made of metal or grown from seeds. The principles are usually the same. As the humans worked to help repair the gentle current, Zephyr found himself in conversation with Dr. Park about their respective worlds. What she told him about Earth made his mind reel with disbelief. You have creatures called lions that hunt. Other animals for food, he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lions, tigers, wolves, bears, sharks, Dr. Park listed casually. Most of Earth's large animals are predators of some kind. That's not counting the small dangerous things like snakes, spiders, bacteria, viruses. But how do you sleep at night knowing such things exist? Dr. Park laughed, a sound like music to alien ears. Captain, we learned to make tools and build shelters. We learned to work in groups and watch out for each other. And eventually we learned to leave our planet and explore space, partly because we wanted to find places that weren't trying to kill us all the time. Soft Train on Flowers, the rabbit-like engineer, approached carefully. She had been watching Chief Mitchell work and was fascinated by his tools. Human Mitchell, your repair. Equipment is very different from ours. It looks like it could break things as easily as fix them. Mitchell looked up from where he was carefully welding a crack in the ship's living hull. That's because it can, little one. On Earth, we learned that sometimes you have to break something that's already broken before you can make it work again. But don't worry, I'm being very gentle with your ship. You call me little one? Soft Train said, tilting her head curiously. But you are much larger than me and have tools that could hurt me easily. Why do you speak so kindly? Mitchell stopped his work and looked at the small alien seriously. Because you're not my enemy. You're someone who needs help. On Earth, we have a saying. The strong should protect the weak. It doesn't mean weak people are bad or worthless. It means that if you have power, you should use it to help others, not hurt them. Captain Sullivan had been examining the damage to the ship's outer hull through one of the living viewports. Captain Zephyr, those Vorthok weapons did more damage than I first thought. Your ship can't travel safely until we get these hull breaches sealed properly. Can you help us reach a repair station? Zephyr asked hopefully. Not better than that. We can tow you to a safe harbor and help with the repairs ourselves. It's the least we can do. Zephyr stared at the human captain in confusion. The least you can do? Captain Sullivan, you have already saved our lives, fought 5 enemy ships, and offered to repair our vessel. What debt do you think you owe us? Sullivan was quiet for a long moment, looking out at the stars. Captain Zephyr, when we received your distress call, you offered to share all your knowledge in exchange for rescue. You were willing to give us everything you had just for the chance to live. That kind of trust deserves respect. But we have already learned much from you, Zephyr protested. Your technology, your fighting methods, your medicine. Surely we should be the ones offering payment. Dr. Park looked up from where she was treating another injured alien crew member. Captain Zephyr, can I ask you something about your people? You've been in space for a long time, haven't you? Yes. Our civilization has traveled between stars for over 2,000 years. In all that time, have you ever encountered a species that was truly hostile? Besides the Vorthok raiders, Zephyr thought carefully. No, I don't believe so. Most species we meet are like us. They want to learn, to explore, to share knowledge. The Vorthok are unusual because they take things by force instead of asking to trade. That's what I thought, Dr. Park said softly. Captain, I think your people live in a very different part of the galaxy than we do. Where we come from, dangerous species are common. Pirates, slavers, conquerors. We've learned to be ready for trouble, because trouble usually finds us eventually. Chief Mitchell finished his work on the hull and packed up his tools. Captain Zephyr, your ship should hold pressure now, but you'll need proper repairs at a station with the right equipment. We can tow you there, but I have to warn you about something. What is it? When we arrive at whatever station you choose, there are going to be a lot of aliens who have never seen humans before. After what happened here today, word is going to spread fast about the species that destroyed 5 Vorthok raiders without breaking a sweat. Some aliens might be afraid of us. Zephyr's antennae drooped with sadness. Are you saying that helping us might cause trouble for you? Captain Sullivan put his hand on Zephyr's shoulder, a gesture that would have been threatening from most species but somehow felt comforting coming from the human. Captain, let me tell you something my father taught me. He said that doing the right thing is often difficult, and it might make some people unhappy with you. But if you don't do the right thing when you have the chance, you have to live with that choice for the rest of your life. Your father sounds like a wise being. The journey to Harmony Station took 3 days. During that time, the crews of both ships spent hours together, sharing meals, stories, and knowledge that would change both species forever. Dr. Lisa Park floated in the gentle current's main habitat, watching Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell explain human tools to a group of fascinated alien scientists. The big engineer was being incredibly gentle with the delicate plant-based technology, his massive hands moving with the precision of a surgeon as he showed them how metal tools could work alongside living systems. The trick is understanding that everything wants to work properly, Mitchell was saying to Soft Train and Flowers and 2 other alien engineers. Whether it's made of metal or grown from seeds, most things break because they're being forced to do something they weren't designed. 4. Fix the design problem, and the thing usually heals itself. Soft Train tilted her rabbit-like head thoughtfully. But human, Mitchell, your tools look like they could break our ship very easily. How do you know when to use force and when to be gentle? Mitchell smiled and pulled out a small device that looked like it could punch holes in starship hulls. Watch this, little one. He activated the tool on its lowest setting and used it to carefully trim a damaged leaf from one of the ship's living walls. The cut was so precise that the plant barely noticed, and new growth was already starting to appear. On Earth, we learned that the same tool that can destroy can also create, depending on how you use it. A hammer can crush your thumb or build. A house fire can burn down a forest or cook your dinner. The tool isn't good or evil. It's what you choose to do with it that matters. Captain Zephyr, who had been listening from nearby, made a sound like wind through thoughtful leaves. This philosophy explains much about your people, human Mitchell. You have weapons that could destroy planets, but you use them to protect those who cannot protect themselves. In another part of the ship, Lieutenant Ben Carter was teaching a group of young alien scientists about human military tactics. The aliens were both horrified and fascinated by the concepts he described. Mean your people actually practice fighting each other? Asked Whisper of Wind, through lives, her voice trembling. Even when there is no real danger? Carter nodded patiently. We call them war games or training exercises. We pretend to fight so that if we ever have to fight for real, we know what we're doing. It's like practicing music or mathematics, except we're practicing how to protect people. But why do you need to practice such things? Surely most conflicts can be resolved through discussion and compromise. Carter looked around at the peaceful aliens and realized he was talking to beings who had never experienced real conflict. On Earth, not everyone wants to talk things through. Some people would rather take what they want by force. If good people don't know how to stop them, bad people can hurt a lot of innocent folks. One of the younger aliens, a being that looked like a cross between a flower and a butterfly, asked quietly, Human, Carter? Have you ever had to hurt someone to protect others? Carter was quiet for a long moment. Yes, little one, I have. And it's never easy, even when you know it's necessary. That's why we train so hard, so that when we have to use violence, we can end the fight quickly and with as little harm as possible. Do you feel sad when you hurt bad people? Every time, Carter admitted, because even bad people are usually just scared or angry people who never learn better ways to solve their problems. But sometimes, the only way to protect innocent people is to stop the ones trying to hurt them. Meanwhile, in the ship's medical bay, Dr. Park was having her own philosophical discussion with the alien medical staff. They were amazed by human medicine, which seemed to be designed around the assumption that bodies were constantly under attack. Your immune systems are incredible, Dr. Park was explaining to the head medical officer. A gentle being called Duan Morning Petals. Human bodies have to fight off diseases, parasites, toxins, and injuries constantly. Our medicine is aggressive, because our bodies are used to fighting for survival. But this seems so violent, Duan Morning Petals replied sadly. Your medications actually attack parts of your own body to heal other parts. Our medicine works by encouraging natural harmony and balance. That's because your body's evolved in a world where balance was possible, Dr. Park explained. On Earth, there is no balance. Everything is trying to eat everything else. Our bodies had to become weapons in their own right, with chemical warfare happening inside us every day. How do you live with such knowledge, knowing that your own body is a battlefield? Dr. Park smiled gently. The same way we live with everything else on Earth. We accept it, we adapt to it, and we use it to make ourselves stronger. Our aggressive immune systems that fight diseases also help us heal faster from injuries. Our stress responses that prepare us for danger also help us think clearly in emergencies. Captain Sullivan found himself in the ship's command center, talking with Captain Zephyr about the differences between their civilizations. The alien captain was trying to understand how humans could be both warriors and explorers. Captain Sullivan, your people have weapons that could destroy our entire ship in seconds, yet you risk your lives to save strangers. How do we reconcile these two facts? Sullivan looked out through the living viewport at the stars streaming past. Captain Zephyr, let me tell you about something that happened on Earth many years ago. A man was walking by a river when he heard someone screaming for help. Without thinking, he jumped into the dangerous water to save a drowning child. This sounds like a noble act. It was. But here's the interesting part. Later, people found out that the man who saved the child was a soldier who had killed enemy fighters in a war just months before. The same hands that had taken lives in battle had just saved a life in peace. Captain Zephyr's antenna twitched with confusion. I do not understand how the same person can do both things, because both actions came from the same place in his heart, Sullivan explained. The desire to protect people he cared about. In war, he protected his country and his fellow soldiers by fighting the enemy. By the river, he protected an innocent child by risking his own life. Different actions, same motivation. You are saying that human violence and human compassion are connected? Exactly. Yes. We fight fiercely because we love deeply. The same instincts that make us dangerous to our enemies, make us devoted to our friends and family. On the third day of their journey, something happened that would become legendary among both species. Maria Rodriguez detected a distress signal from a Vorthok ship, not raiders this time, but what appeared to be a damaged civilian transport. The crew of the Gentle Current was amazed when Captain Sullivan immediately ordered a course change to investigate the signal. Captain Zephyr said carefully, "Those are the same people who attacked us. Surely you do not intend to help them." Sullivan looked at his alien friend with patient eyes. Captain Zephyr, what did you think when you first saw Vorthok raiders attacking peaceful ships? That they were evil beings who enjoyed causing suffering. And what do you think now? Zephyr considered this. That they are people who learned violence as a way of life, perhaps because their world taught them that taking by force was easier than asking for help. Exactly. Which means they can potentially learn different ways of living if someone shows them a better path. When they reached the Vorthok transport, they found a ship full of families, women, children, an elderly Vorthok who had been traveling to a new colony when their engines failed. These were not the fierce raiders who had attacked the Gentle Current, but ordinary people facing death in the cold of space. Captain Sullivan didn't hesitate. Dr. Park, prepare medical teams. Mitchell, get ready to assist with their engine repairs. Carter, coordinate the rescue operation. The aliens watched in amazement as the humans worked tirelessly to save their former enemies. Dr. Park treated Vorthok children with the same gentle care she had shown the alien crew. Chief Mitchell crawled through damaged Vorthok ship systems. To repair their life support, Captain Sullivan personally carried an injured Vorthok elder to safety. One young Vorthok, barely more than a child, looked up at Dr. Park with huge, frightened eyes. "Why are you helping us? Our warriors attacked your friends." Dr. Park knelt down to the child's level and spoke gently. "Because you're not a warrior, sweetie. You're just a little one who needs help. Where I come from, we always help children who need it, no matter where they come from." The rescue took 8 hours. When it was finished, the Vorthok captain, an old female named Scales Like Stars, approached Captain Sullivan with tears in her ancient eyes. "Human captain," she said in broken English that Dr. Park had helped her learn. "My people have done terrible things. We have taken ships, hurt innocents, caused much pain. Why do you save us?" Sullivan looked at the old Vorthok for a long moment. "Because everyone deserves a chance to do better. Your people learned that taking by force was the way to survive. Maybe it's time they learned that asking for help works better. You would trust us to change? I would trust you to try. Change is hard, but it's always possible if you want it badly enough." Harmony Station hung in space like a giant flower made of crystal and light. The massive structure was home to over 2 million beings from 12 different peaceful species, all living together in the careful balance that had made this region of the galaxy famous for its tranquility. As the New Horizon approached the station, while towing the gentle current, Captain Jake Sullivan could see hundreds of ships of all sizes and shapes docked at the station's many arms. Some looked like the graceful organic vessels favored by plant-based species. Others resembled geometric sculptures that housed silicon-based life forms. A few appeared to be living creatures themselves, ships grown rather than built. None of them looked anything like the angular, armored bulk of the New Horizon. "Captain," reported Maria Rodriguez from her communications station. "Harmony Station is requesting identification and stating our purpose. They seem ... nervous." Sullivan wasn't surprised. Word of the battle with the Vorthok Raiders had probably reached the station hours ago, carried by the faster-than-light communication networks that connected peaceful civilizations across this part of space. "Tell them we're escorting the research vessel Gentle Current for repairs, and that we come in peace." "Already did, Captain. They're asking for Captain Zephyr to personally confirm that we're not holding his ship hostage." Through the communication system, Captain Zephyr's gentle voice reached the New Horizons bridge. "Harmony Station Control. This is Captain Zephyr of the Morning Mist. The human vessel is our friend and protector. They saved our lives and the lives of many others. Please extend them every courtesy." There was a long pause before the station replied, "Understood, Gentle Current. You are cleared for docking at Repair Bay 7, the ... human vessel." For docking at Bay 12, Dr. Lisa Park looked up from her station. "Captain, Bay 12 is in the quarantine section. They're treating us like a potential disease." "Can't blame them," Sullivan replied calmly. "We're probably the first military vessel they've seen that wasn't trying to raid or conquer something. They don't know what to make of us." Lieutenant Ben Carter was studying his sensors. "Captain, I'm reading at least 50 ships changing course to get a better look at us. And there are news drones launching from the station." "News drones?" "Looks like word is spreading fast about the species that destroyed 5 Vorthok raiders. We're about to become famous, Captain." As the 2 ships docked at Harmony Station, crowds of aliens gathered at the viewing galleries to catch their first glimpse of the mysterious humans. The New Horizons crew could see hundreds of faces pressed against transparent barriers, some curious, fun, some frightened, all amazed by the sight of beings from a Deathworld talker. Captain Sullivan, Dr. Park, and Chief Engineer Tony Mitchell joined Captain Zephyr and his crew for the walk from the docking bays to the station's central hub. The corridors of Harmony Station were works of art, with walls that seemed to be grown rather than built and lighting that came from living organisms embedded in the ceiling. As they walked, aliens of every description stopped to stare at the humans. Children of various species peeked out from behind their parents, eyes wide with curiosity. Adult beings whispered to each other in dozens of different languages, all trying to understand what they were seeing. Captain Zephyr, Dr. Park, said quietly, "Is it always this crowded here?" "No, Dr. Park. I think word of our rescue has spread through the station. Everyone wants to see the humans who fought the Vorthok and won." They were met at the central hub by a delegation from the Galactic Botanical Confederation's governing council. The leader was an impressive being called Sunlight Through Ancient Leaves, who stood nearly 10 feet tall and looked like a walking tree with golden bark and leaves that rustled when he moved. "Captain Zephyr, Sunlight Through Ancient Leaves," said in a voice like wind through a forest, "We are grateful beyond measure that you and your crew have returned safely. The news of your rescue has reached every world in our Confederation. Thank you, Council Leader, but our safety is due entirely to the courage and skill of our human friends. Without them, we would all be dead or worse." The Council Leader turned his attention to Captain Sullivan, and the human could feel the weight of ancient wisdom in those deep, dark eyes. "Captain Sullivan of the humans, your actions have created great discussion among our people. Never encountered a species quite like yours, Council Leader. We're honored to meet representatives of your Confederation. Captain Zephyr and his crew are remarkable people, and we are happy to help them." "Yes, but that is exactly what puzzles us," said another council member, a crystalline being whose body reflected light in rainbow patterns. "Our intelligence networks tell us that you destroyed 5 Vorthok raiders with a single ship. Such capability suggests a military power beyond anything in this region of space. Yet you used this power not for conquest, but for rescue." Dr. Park stepped forward. "Council Leader, perhaps I can explain. Humans evolved on a world where survival required constant vigilance and cooperation. We learned to fight because we had to, but we also learned that the strongest communities are those that protect all their members, not just the powerful ones. But surely such a dangerous evolutionary environment would produce selfish, aggressive beings focused only on their own survival," suggested a third council member who resembled a large, intelligent butterfly. "Actually, it produced the opposite," Chief Mitchell said, speaking for the first time since arriving at the station. "On Earth, selfishness gets you killed. The only way to survive on a death world is to work together, watch out for each other, and make sure everyone in your group is safe. Individuals who only cared about themselves didn't live long enough to have children." Council Leader's sunlight through ancient leaves rustled his leaves thoughtfully. "This is a fascinating perspective. Tell us, what do your people want from our Confederation? Surely beings with such military capability must have demands or expectations?" Captain Sullivan looked around at the assembled aliens, many of whom were clearly nervous about his answer. "Council Leader, we don't want anything except the chance to make friends and learn from each other. Where we come from, space is full of hostile species and dangerous situations. This region seems to be different, peaceful, cooperative, focused on knowledge and growth instead of conquest. That's the kind of galaxy we'd like to help create everywhere." "Help create how?" asked the crystalline council member suspiciously. "By doing what we just did for Captain Zephyr," Dr. Park explained. "Protecting peaceful beings from those who would harm them. We're not interested in ruling anyone or taking anyone's resources. We're interested in making sure that good people, like your Confederation, can continue to exist and thrive." A new voice spoke from the crowd of observers. "But what happens when you decide we are no longer worth protecting? What happens when the humans become the threat we need protection from?" The speaker was Captain ShortStories, the elderly Vorthok female whose transport ship the humans had rescued during their journey to the station. She had arrived ahead of them and was now standing with several other Vorthok civilians. The entire council turned to stare at her in shock. Vorthok were not welcome at Harmony Station, and seeing one speaking freely in the central hub was almost unimaginable. "Captain Scales like stars," Captain Sullivan said warmly. "I'm glad to see you made it here safely. How are your people doing?" "They are well, thanks to your kindness," the old Vorthok replied. But my question remains. How do we know that human protection will not become human domination? Captain Zephyr stepped forward before Sullivan could. Answer, Captain Scales Like Stars. I have spent 3 days with these humans. I have seen them fight their enemies, heal their wounded, and risk their lives for strangers. If they wanted to conquer us, they could have done so already. More than that, added Whisper of Wind Through Leaves, who had been quiet until now. We have learned about their home world. Earth. It is a place where only the strong survive. But these humans define strength not as the power to take what you want, but as the ability to protect what you love. Dr. Park addressed the Vorthok captain directly. Captain Scales Like Stars, you're asking exactly the right question. How do you know we won't become the new threat? The answer is that you don't, and you shouldn't trust us just because we say you should. You should watch what we do, Judge. Us by our actions and make your own decisions about whether we're worthy of your trust. And if you decide that we've become a threat, Captain Sullivan added, then you should oppose us. Just like we opposed the raiders who attacked Captain Zephyr. The right to defend yourself against anyone who would harm you is sacred, no matter who they are. Council leader Sunlight Through Ancient Leaves rustled his leaves in what humans would later learn was a sign of deep thought. This is unprecedented. A species with superior military capability offering protection while simultaneously acknowledging our right to resist them if necessary. On Earth, Chief Mitchell explained, we have a saying, power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We know that having strength can make people do terrible things if they're not careful. That's why we try to always remember that. Our strength exists to serve others, not to serve ourselves.